We're live, Joe's Jive, Jive is live. I feel alive, Joe's Jive. We got music, sweet treats, a tall cup of Joe. Oh, baby, what are you gonna learn that you didn't know? Only one way to find out. Gotta sit back, relax, listen, unwind. Get yourself a hot cup of something fine, and you'll find that life is good. Got nothing to worry about, got no reason for no doubt. All you need is some clean, green coffee. Get yourself a nice warm cup of Joe. Here we go. Joe's Jive. Joe's Jive. It is now live. Welcome to another edition of Joe's Jive. I am your host, Jolly Joe Jester, and I'm very excited today. Going to be interviewing the Barista Bitches, a group out of my hometown of Elmira, New York. We're going to get to them in just a moment, and I can't wait for you guys to meet this incredible group. They are two really cool former baristas, and seems like they're astrology experts as well as general folks who want the world to be a better place, which is what a lot of us seem to want. Well, it's time to take a sip of coffee and relax. Life has been good. It has been a journey the last couple of weeks. Happenstancery's been on quite a tour, and I'll just say right now we're getting started this week. April 18th on Thursday, we're going to have the incredible Third Thursday at the Rosendale Theater. There's going to be music, comedy from our guests from last week, Jordan Freed. Just an incredible show, guys. It's going to be so much fun on Main Street in Rosendale, New York. I love our little mountain variety show we do. And we're going to be off in May, so you're going to want to come and see it this time. We're doing like an every other month kind of thing. And then on April 20th, 4/20 on Saturday, we are at the Stellar Yogery. The Stellar Yoga, amazing place in New Paltz. But without further ado, I'm really excited about getting into our interview for today. I am really excited to get to know these folks much better. I'm going to bring them right in live. Let's welcome to the podcast, Joe's Jive, the Barista Bitches. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm so good. It's so good to see you both. Welcome to Joe's Jive. How's it going, Barista Bitches?
It's going good.
I don't feel super comfortable using that. I think that'll be the last time. I think it's a cool name, you guys. Tell the folks a little bit about how it got started. We got Nikki and Miranda here. What is Barista Bitches for those of us who don't know?
So, the way we have it, I think, kind of described on our page is like your source of coffee, conversation, and a little dash of the cosmos. So we do cover astrology topics in our Gemini Bitches segment of the podcast because we're both Geminis. And the way
That's
that this
awesome.
started, I want to say that it was kind of birthed from when we worked at the coffee shop together.
Right.
Just kind of talking over a basil plant. And the name just kind of came from that. And then it took us about 2-3 years to finally get around to putting it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're finally doing it. We're doing the thing. So
That's awesome. Oh, it all started with a basil plant, as many
Yes,
great things have.
absolutely it did.
Well, before we get started, what are we drinking today? Do y'all have any coffee near
We
or
actually already drank ours. She still got hers.
I got the last bit of
I
mine.
downed
here?
mine.
Cheers. Cheers to you. And what did you have today? What's your go-to drink these days?
I had an oat milk cappuccino.
I have been drinking a lot of dirty chais and chai chargers, which are basically the same thing. It's just like a different name that some other coffee shops have adopted for it rather than a dirty chai.
Chai
Um,
charger. That sounds a lot better. Nobody who wants to use the word dirty and
I mean, we love alliteration, right? So
Yeah, chai charger is so much better. I used to say a single shot in a chai was a dirty chai. If you want the double, it's a filthy chai.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really good beverage. I'm drinking right now a regular latte from the Big Cheese. It's a great little coffee shop right across the street from my town and my home, and it's right in the center of Rosendale. I've got lavender rose. It was a really
Awesome.
nice syrup, and I went with regular old whole milk. Are you guys any vegetarian, vegan?
we used to be,
I mean,
Yeah,
I was vegan for upwards of like 8 years.
and I was
nice.
vegetarian for about a year and a half.
It's
So
awesome.
still sometimes drink whole milk, but also like try different alternatives. Almond, oat, coconut.
They're all so good, creamy, and you got to try them. I mean, we're gonna get into the weeds on coffee talk for this, but I'm excited by all of the facets of what you guys talked about. The astrology stuff is awesome. I'm a Aquarius, so
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
I've heard Aquarius and Gemini are good friends, and there's the old Aquemini, the old Outcast album. I don't know if you ever heard that,
I don't think
but
I have.
it's very cool. It's yeah, Outcast, Big Boy, Andre 3000. They have a song "You and I," Aquemini, and it's actually the name of the album. So it's really cool. That's I think their signs and the creativity there between the Aquarius and the Gemini is really interesting. I love talking about all that kind of stuff. The cosmos. How did you get interested in cosmos and coffee? You know, where did this all come about for both of you guys?
So a huge portion of when we worked together and when we first, accommodated being best friends, we would open astrology apps every morning and just read them to each other and see what things were going to say along the lines of what was happening in the cosmos or like what patterns had opened up to us. Just considering on like the apps and everything, they had specific things that they would bring up to us. And every morning it was like,
What's
yours
say?
Yeah.
Yeah, around that same time is when we started using the pattern app.
Right.
And that is scary accurate.
It is.
I know.
I was moving before I even knew what was wrong.
Uh-huh.
So
It's like a couple steps ahead of you. Yeah, the pattern is wild. That is one of those apps that you can even put your friends' information and find your friends on there. So it's like, oh, Nikki, I hear you're having a hard day today.
Exactly.
yeah, it's crazy.
So the start of your friendship was rooted in coffee and Cosmos, and that was at the Downtown Grind.
Yes.
I love that place, and I'm sad that it is no longer here in Elmira. My hometown, is that where both of you are from?
No.
Where are you from?
I
Let's start there.
have a lot of different places, but I was born in Puerto Rico, and then I've moved around between PA, Illinois, New Jersey, and now New York. So
Nice. Oh, very cool. And now you're living in Elmira?
in Corning, actually.
Corning?
Yeah.
I love Corning. Awesome. And is there some good coffee shops there? Do you have a favorite in Corning?
So my go-to has slowly become Soulful Cup on Market Street.
Yes.
They have some really good blends and their chai charger. That's actually the first place I heard the chai charger name being used. But I have heard it at a couple other different places since. So Soulful Cup is one, and then also the Last Stand in Painted Post is really good. I've only been there once so far, but it was a really good impression.
Yeah, they're really great. I love them.
Yeah, anything else, Miranda, to add there for the recommendations? I have one to throw in the mix too.
Yeah, absolutely. I am currently still living in Elmira, so besides Downtown Grind, since it did sadly close, there is a new coffee shop that was opened called the Garage at Rye, which Rye is already its own little restaurant, but they have fantastic coffee.
I was hoping you would say that because that was actually mine. I
Hmm.
have blown away by the garage, and I believe there's some connection there between one of the owners or something. You know, the managers is from one of those shops, the Downtown Grind, or
Yeah, so Iris and I had actually worked together, but she now is the barista over there, the main barista that's just
yeah.
slinging out drinks and taking charge of the whole thing, you know? So she's doing a great job over there.
Oh my gosh, you got to try it. Anyone who listens to this, I only come into Elmira for family events and stuff these days, or seeing friends and parties and things, because I'm out in the Hudson Valley. But when I go back, I was so excited, and they've got me hooked. They say if you go to a place like 3 times, you're in for life, and
Yes.
every time I go, I've gone. It's really cool. So, and I think a cool thing that they did at the Downtown Grind was they had an open mic night. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty often. It was what, Friday nights? Probably like one or
once a
two
month.
Friday
Yeah.
a month. And
So
I mean,
cool.
anyone could sign up for it. It was like a free listing and you could just show up, first come, first serve.
That to me is so important. Like where I live and those kinds of events is what I've been praying for Elmira to have more of that kind of stuff. And I'm really excited to see the coffee shop has always been a place for friends, for performance, for gatherings, and talking about the cosmos and the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a sacred space for sure. And the garage is really cool. There's so many of them. And I think for both of us, for all of us, these coffee shops will always be in our hearts. I've been there when one you love went away. The cafeteria in New Paltz is where I worked and got my barista bitching experience. But I started slinging lattes and cappuccinos and matchas and chai chargers and all that. And there was entertainment all the time. It was one of those spots where you could. I was making it so there was events every night on the stage. So let's have more of that, right? More stages, more combining art and coffee.
Absolutely.
That was actually one of the things that I miss about working at the coffee shop in the capacity that I was in. Was I got to reach out to a lot of local artists to put up their paintings or photography or whatever their medium may be up on our art wall, and that was a really cool experience to be able to interact with so many local artists and see the amazing work that they did being displayed on on our walls.
Hmm.
That was that's definitely like the community outreach aspect. I really do miss that.
Yeah, you're like a curator of a museum at that point, and
Yeah,
it's
and
so
people
cool.
loved, yeah, to just come in and be like, "Oh my gosh, when is it changing?" Or like,
Mhm.
"What are the prices?" And we'd have to contact people and be like, "They want to buy it. Are you willing to sell it?" Like,
Yeah, that's like so cool. I remember having to make a call like that, and it's like they want your thing. Like what?
mhm.
How much? And it's very cool to have a spot like that. Who were some of the artists? If you don't mind shouting them out, I bet Rich Levere was up there. I
Oh,
know he was a
absolutely.
fan.
I own a couple of his pieces myself.
Same. Actually, I think it was his exhibit up on the wall when I first started working there, and one of them was the clarinet lamp that you have.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
absolutely
a
love it.
clarinet with a stained glass light bulb at the end,
Oh
and then
yeah.
the one I have, it's a stained glass ice block with like a pick around it, and it hangs on the wall like that. And it made me think of the Frozen movies, so I was like, I need that on my wall because those are
So
some of my
cool.
favorite movies, even as an
Oh,
adult. So
I love those movies, and so does my nephew and nieces, and they are big fans of it. It's really touched the world. But that is so cool. I know art can take you there to your favorite movies, to your favorite places. And Rich has always been a nice guy. I interviewed him years ago for my Jimi Hendrix is Alive and Well documentary, and
Yeah.
he was the guy who kind of manages the Jimi Hendrix is Alive in Elmira Facebook page. So that's how I
Mhm.
got to meet him. But he used to have an art store there on downtown as well, and I know I was seeing his posts about the open mic, and from a distance I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love that this place is giving a stage and a platform to all these amazing artists that need a place to call their own and a place to perform and put up their art. So thank you guys for holding that space.
Yeah, of course. I mean, our boss had a huge portion to do with it, of course. She was so involved with the community. She came out of Montreux Falls, but she had run three separate businesses at once while she was here. So she ran two separate food truck businesses and then also the coffee shop at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow. Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Woman. She really is like amazing.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. What's her name?
Sarah Caldwell.
Awesome. Very cool. Just want to shout those people out because we've already thrown a couple people in, and it's just an amazing thing, this coffee community. And I think now we got to shout out the one that's around the corner on Water Street in Elmira. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
I believe so. Elmira Tea and Coffee House?
Yes, the Elmira Tea and Coffee House. I want to shout them out as well. All of these, shops that are not corporate, you can always go to a Dunkin' or a Starbucks, but you got to support these places, and I think it's really special. I don't think every generation has it, but I think our generation really is like, yeah, it's worth spending, $5-6 on an expensive drink to support these guys.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the generational differences, like in coffee consumption, I think at least my prediction is that the younger generations are going to learn how to make these drinks at home. And because I see so much content of like people having their own espresso machines at home and creating their own drinks that way.
Which I think COVID had a lot to do with that. Just like the start of whipped coffee and like figuring out that you can just whip some heavy cream and have a cold foam in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So
frothers, get yourself a frother.
They're so amazing. We call them zhuzhers.
Zhuzher.
Whole sound. They're amazing.
A little onomatopoeia there because it zhuzhes.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that, and I think you're so right because there's a balance. It's like going to the movie theater, like versus watching a movie at home. Like you can get the experience, you can make yourself a drink, but when you go to the coffee shop and you see the guy typing on his laptop and there's the music from the DJ who usually controlled the aux cord amongst y'all, the Bluetooth.
Whoever did the front that day.
I was like, I think whoever was the barista.
So
like,
you get to control it.
Very vivid memory.
I'm ready.
This semi-regular, he came like every couple of days.
Yeah.
I was playing Major Lazer, and he walks in and immediately goes, I feel like I'm in Woodstock right now. He's like, this is very upbeat for 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Somehow. I mean,
exactly. That was my train of thought.
Yes, you're feeling the adrenaline before you even take a sip of coffee. That is so funny. I feel like I'm in Woodstock right now. I love that. I always would try to play some really far out music and Woodstock and older generation music too. And I find myself, going through the same playlist. But I love when you can kind of just let it go and trust it. The shuffle gods, as I like to say. It's cool. If you have the right playlist, you should be able to just let it ride. And yeah, people, it does feel like a festival in a coffee shop, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the welcome baristas and everything and just the chitter chatter that happens over the espresso machine. I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, and you guys are bringing it back with the Barista Bitches. So
Absolutely.
that's every month you're trying to release one conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
We are hoping to eventually have the means and the time to at least do twice a month.
Right.
But for right now, just the starting out, I think the once a month is...
Yeah, you can always do bonus episodes, but that's great to have a good thing for you guys. I just started this in January, and it is a lot of work. People don't realize, a lot goes into it.
I mean, she does all the editing, and I'm just like, girl, I don't know how you can listen to both of our voices for hours on end.
Who wants to do it? Yeah, it's like really it's strenuous, but if it's worth it, these kinds of conversations are rare. And I find that in this digital format, it's really nice. I think people who know us and people who are going to get to know you, I hope fans of Joe's Java Jive go check out and support your podcast because you guys really go in depth on, a real specific coffee shop and such amazing topics, the conversations. I love what you guys talk about. And you tell the folks a little bit about like some of your recent episodes, what a taste of the show is like.
So our most recent episode actually was a little bit more informational than we normally are geared towards.
I think there's definitely a huge difference between when Nikki picks a topic and when I pick the topic. Because I am very like research based and she's very like
I like to keep it broad.
Yeah.
Because I like to welcome and invite all kinds of different
side
thoughts
combos.
along the same strain of the topic of the day. But I feel like when you pick a topic, it's very specific and very
and
niche.
informational.
And like, so like for example, the February episode was just love. Like, and I picked that topic because it's
Absolutely.
Valentine's Day. Like, may as well.
Yeah, I loved it.
And for March with St. Patrick's Day, she picked the potato famine.
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes to a whole historical event that I wasn't aware happened the way it happened.
I know, right? There was a lot of misconceptions about it, and you guys really cleared it up, cleared the air.
Yeah. I wish I could have gone in more depth. I mean, but we tried to keep it down to a certain, time frame each episode. But yeah, I mean, I highly encourage people to check out everything, all of the resources and everything. There's whole books on it. I mean,
and we did post most of the sources that you found on our social media as well. So if people want to dig deeper than what we were able to, they're by all means more than welcome to.
Awesome. Well, folks, go check that out if you really want to learn more about that. And you also featured a location in Ithaca.
Yes, Copper Horse Coffee. They are a roastery in Ithaca. They do a lot of the blends that we carried at Downtown Grind, which is how we're so familiar with the espresso that we featured, the Clock Tower espresso that we featured in our most recent episode. The very first blend I had from them, though, was actually their one of their dark roasts, Warhorse coffee. It's fantastic. It's got that nice like traditional dark roast flavor, which I really enjoy.
Me too. I'm a dark roast guy all the way. What about you too? Do you enjoy a lighter roast, medium, or what's your go-to normally?
I'm a wild card. I totally wish I could be the kind of person that just like had the same order every day and like had that kind of connection with a barista, but it's all in the vibes of the day, and then I love everything under the sun. So
I love that. And when you're buying at a store, like, do you go for a different pound of coffee every time too? Like try them all?
I try to do that, but I actually have been stuck on like medium and dark roast more recently. Surprisingly enough, Wegmans Organic Daybreak blend.
Oh yeah,
is actually it's
really
fantastic. So
yes.
Even they have their own stuff to like check out and explore.
Yeah, I agree. Wegmans has got all sorts of great products. I was so lucky to have one of those down the road in Elmira. Non-sponsored plug there, but you gotta. And there's somebody posted recently something I want to try. We have a Stewart's where I live in Hudson Valley.
Okay.
So they have really good iced coffee in-house, and like I just saw someone posted like a blueberry maple roast. So I have to try that. And I like some flavored stuff. I'm getting some crap from Serena, my partner. She's like only dark roast, and she doesn't really like the flavored stuff. So I had some chocolate-covered strawberry from Dunkin' around Valentine's. Guys, this was the best coffee I've ever had.
Really?
Like, I don't know. I don't want to shout the Dunkin' out too much. They are the corporate other guys.
Coffee
You got to try it.
at the end of the day. Yeah.
It is.
I've never first episode,
McDonald's.
lack of time, featured McDonald's.
I love that. That's what it's all about. Yeah, as long as you guys are having fun.
Absolutely. If you love flavored roast, though, if you haven't heard of Seneca Sunrise Roasteries, they do an amazing job.
Also, Cuca Lake Coffee Roasters. They have an amazing blueberry cobbler flavor.
Good.
Also,
Oh my
Jamaican
God.
Crazy.
Yes.
All of them are amazing.
Forget wine tours, folks. You need to come up to the Finger Lakes coffee tour.
Absolutely. And I love seeing like little tiny coffee shops that do like flights.
Yes.
Oh, that's such a great idea. I would love to do that.
Well, that's something we need to do, and maybe on the next episode where we should do this again. I want to have my dad is like an example of that older generation who's always been like, I don't know what a cappuccino, latte, mocha, matcha, whatever. And he's like, I need somebody to sit me down and give me the experience and the flight experience. And I think that might be something cool to do collaboratively, you know, and have like a coffee experience where people go on the journey with us, like a tasting of a menu and try. Here's a matcha, here's a mocha, and build our way up to the whole menu, you know?
Yeah, I would love to see the reactions to that, because wine tasting, obviously, you get like very lax and very giggly and everything, and I'm sure people will just like not stop talking. I have 16 things to do, like.
Yeah, that's the coffee effect. That is like my pure state. I love when I'm all coffeeed out. It still has an effect on you guys too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say it depends on the coffee drink that I have.
Yeah.
And usually if we go out and I've already had like a pretty strong coffee earlier in the day, I'll have a matcha instead, just to kind of.
It's like a lighter form of caffeine. Yeah.
I don't need anxiety. I need energy.
Yeah.
But I used to be the matcha queen at that time, right?
Yes,
too.
absolutely.
I would find like different combinations of matcha and syrups for people, depending on like what they tell me about their taste. But one of my go-tos is matcha with lavender syrup. So it really heightens that floral experience.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes.
One of them that I've tried like that, blueberry matcha at the garage.
I know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It is so
very good. That was on the counter. How are you not going to order that if you see that?
I know. I found out the garage has rose syrup, and so I tried it in my matcha the last time I was there. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, lavender, I got to try. I'm loving this lavender latte here. You know, it's just so great to try different syrups and stuff. This whole podcast is all about, you know, the pleasant things in life. And when you have a good cup of a warm beverage, like, you can really forget about everything else going on in the world for a little bit. That's one of the benefits of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you said, you cross that threshold and it's like, I'm moving into the too much.
Yeah, I find myself at that threshold often. So I work in the medical field.
Yeah, tell us about that, because I read it in your bio and folks can see that you guys are in the, you know, healing world, which really is an important work.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now I'm actually working in a pharmacy. I'm a pharmacy technician, but anything in the medical field or healthcare, I mean, coffee is like a dependency for sure.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, I used to love just like curating little boxes of drip coffee to like bring to the hospitals and everything too, because they definitely need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Late at night, and I know all the essential workers out there, it's really important. Drink coffee, that's the classic one. When I see people with like a Monster or a 5-Hour Energy, I'm like, come on, what are you doing? It's no judgment, no caffeine shaming, but there's so much the late night coffee. I'm a night coffee fan. On a good night, post dessert, or what'd you say?
I said it gets fun.
Yeah, it does, right? Like that's one of my friends has a song called Night Coffee, the band What, and they're like a Hudson Valley That's the name. What? But they performed that. Jared Nelson. I'm going to shout him out. But yeah, drinking coffee at night or on a road trip, the truck drivers,
Oh
it's
yeah.
keeping people awake all over the world. It's important. And I was curious about, how you guys came into it in life. Like, first, a little bit about maybe like your upbringing and what it was like when you first tried it. What age?
Oh gosh.
I was too young.
I was also very much too young.
My grandma made yaucono, which is a Puerto Rican brand of coffee, and she would once in a while let me have a cup with her, and that was really cool. And I felt so adult to be able to drink coffee with my grandma.
Aww.
uh, uh, but this grandma being the one that I mentioned in our podcast, who recently passed. So R.I.P.
Yeah.
But yeah, I that's kind of how I got started, was just through those interactions with her.
Mine
Oh,
wasn't
sweet.
like super different. It's definitely still like family oriented, but like strangely enough, I started drinking coffee at the age of 9. And I had like a very tiny mug that I would drink out of specifically, but there used to be either like a language learning service or a podcast that was called Coffee Break Spanish. And me and my father would listen to it every week, and we would just get a little cup of coffee, black, nothing in it, and we would just sip on it and learn Spanish together, which I
Wow.
went further than he did, but
That's so cool. Both of those stories are really beautiful. And I connected it with my mom, Vicky Sue, who passed on, who I'm always also honoring in this podcast. So if we're calling out the angels, I wish I still have my coffee talk, as we would just call it,
that's
with
great.
on the front porch now with the Cardinals, thinking of all of these the matriarchs who are left behind. But they're still in our hearts and in our cups. And that's my sister actually got us these like engraved spoons that say like coffee talk. Still doing coffee talk on them. So it's a sweet thing, coffee and the memories of getting up in the morning. I know there's like this infamous Folgers commercial that brings people to tears. Because it's just there's a piece to it. There's a familial beauty that I could tell from both of your stories, that it's that deep root and association with our loved ones is a big part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's sweet. And to this day, it's bringing you two together. It's bringing us three together.
Definitely. Too many copies are shared between the two of us. Our bank accounts are worried, but
Yeah, coffee is a whole category on the end of year. Well, you should get tax write off on all this now that you're doing the barista.
I know we're saving up the receipts.
It's all research.
Yeah.
Okay, IRS, are you listening? Oh, oh yeah, that's great. That's really cool. I can't wait to come down to Elmira and share a cup with you guys. And
Absolutely.
the astrology stuff. So maybe, if folks are a little hesitant and, like, oh, I don't believe in any of that crap. Because I hear that often from people. And I feel like I've taken a lot from it myself. I used to, listen to my daily horoscope and I still check it sometimes and I'll just be like, whew, wow. Like it's just a little moment, a breath of fresh air. How would you kind of talk to someone who's maybe never tried it, never wanted to look into it, about going into their astrology?
So I always, whenever I encounter a skeptic, uh, first of all, I start off with mentioning that I used to be a skeptic myself. Um, and so what I usually tell people is we're made up of what, 78% water? Something like that.
Something like that.
And the moon is known to affect the tides. So it wouldn't be as much of a stretch, at least in my mind,
Like scientifically, really.
to expect the moon to have an effect on all bodies of water, including the water that we contain ourselves. And that's just one astronomical aspect of things. There are so many others. And like in our most recent episode, I found out that asteroids count in all of this too, and everything has some sort of implication. So totally understandable if like people don't relate to it or anything like that, but just to consider that the moon has this much impact on just
One
one
little tiny planet.
yeah, so how are we to expect that the others don't?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. And it's so historic and ancient, the study of it, and it's, yeah, when I see somebody doing like the real astrology chart, I'm like blown away by the science of it, and it's very cool. And I know I definitely felt the connection with the moon on April 8th. I posted this thing about like the historical significance of the eclipse stopping wars and stuff, and a friend of mine commented like, "Oh, it's interesting, like the astronomy affecting people's behaviors. I wonder if there's a word for that." And I was like, "Oh yeah." But I felt it. How did you guys feel going and seeing that eclipse? And did you get to lay eyes on it?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I think you were working.
I was working, so I didn't get to see the eclipse itself, but I did get to watch as it gradually got dark in the middle of the day and then
Yeah,
lighten back up, and that was really cool. But it was too
yeah.
cloudy to really see the eclipse where we were.
I know. I was lucky, and I know my sister was in Niagara Falls, so in the totality, and where I was too, there was an earthquake 4 days beforehand. So
Yeah.
the moon being so close and like shifting things had this huge, the biggest earthquake in 100 years in New Jersey area. So I actually felt it. I was in this very room, and the house started shaking, and I ran outside thinking like somebody crashed into the house or something. It was
Right,
very
'cause
strange.
it's like that out here,
No,
especially with earthquakes and everything. I mean, I grew up in California since the age of 7. I moved out here. So I never would imagine feeling something and thinking it was an earthquake out here.
yeah, absolutely. Why would you expect it? That's so cool. So you were from California, you got the Puerto Rican roots, and you guys all found your way here to each other. I will mention that Miranda and we talked about the movie theater experience. That's where I first met you, is working
Yeah.
at a theater in, my high school or community college days. That was a lot of fun. Similar job where you're kind of talking and hanging out behind the counter in between movies. Felt a little barista-esque.
Definitely, especially with like learning people's popcorn orders and like the regulars and just making connections like those. I mean, really any customer service job.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty fun making those kinds of connections.
Yeah, and making people feel at home, and like, yes, this is a place where you can relax and just enjoy your time with your family and friends and have an experience. It's very cool. I've been a hotel front desk, I've worked at the movie theaters, the barista stuff. Do you guys have some other jobs and things that you're doing now or that you hope to do that are not exactly being a barista, but you feel like has that same energy?
Yeah, so I currently work food service. Not quite entirely coffee, but
Yeah.
but still definitely interacting with people regarding food that they are consuming. Um, I'm actually currently training to be a manager at my current establishment of employment. So that I feel is going to be emphasized, that level of interaction for me, and then I hope to ultimately become a psychiatrist. So
That's a whole new level of interaction.
yeah,
That's taking it to level 10. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I'll understand
awesome.
that, of course.
of
But
I'm really happy that you guys are, continuing in the journey, because I think I can tell just from now that you'll be great at that. And at all of this, you guys have great spirits and helping people and just really sweet personalities. So I'm so glad that people can get a taste of your coffee, your spirit by listening to your podcast, and sit and have an hour to hear what you guys are saying, making each other laugh. It's going to bring a lot of smiles to a lot of people.
we hope so.
Yeah,
There's definitely a lot of laughter, even off of the podcast.
It's funny. You guys are really funny together. And I love it. And I think you got to just keep it up because, with all these things, it somehow can feel discouraging in the opening. Oh, we only have X amount of listeners, or it's not, it's not enough. It's not this. It's not that. But at the end of the day, you guys are putting out a really cool, strong signal, and it inspired me. Seeing you do it. It's just we're all putting that energy out into the universe, and I think it really does help you achieve your goals, but also put more people who are meant to find you in your world.
Yeah, I can't say I thought of it like that before, but now that you say that, absolutely.
Yeah, it does. You're really casting a signal. So it's you guys are satellites, and being up there in Corning and Elmira area, I think it's a really cool area, and it's awesome to hear about all of these unique spots that you can go sit and have a cup of coffee. What are some of the things you guys like to do when you go to a coffee shop? If you're alone or with each other, or do you read, write, people watch?
When I go alone, I tend to bring my journal with me. So I'll journal, or if I have any like computer tasks to do, I'll gladly be that person in the corner typing away at my laptop.
Nice.
uh, but I feel like at least as of recently, it's been more of a social activity. So I'm usually hanging out with friends, getting to catch up with people. Um, as I mentioned in my bio, I'm a pure extrovert.
She really is.
Nice.
Yeah, I typically just hang out.
Yeah, that's a great place to make friends. Some of my best friends I've met in the coffee world, and it's so great. I love all of that. Journaling, meeting people. How about you, Miranda? Anything to add?
It really depends on the environment of the coffee shop, I think, because I've been to so many like quaint little places, and I mean, even on the corners of like New York City, it totally depends on
Yeah,
where you are. Even just like sitting in a bar right at a window, just people watching, like the people walking
yeah.
by in, Grand Central Station, or just being one of them that I haven't plugged just yet, Bell's Coffee in Elmira Heights. I mean,
Mm.
they have so many things to look at. They have like sober events at night. They have little like D&D stuff that they
Hmm.
do and
Mm.
sell, and you can just, I mean, talk to the baristas, talk to anyone really. I always love reading, so I'll normally just bring a book with me or a journal just to like have things moving. But I
So
mean, it
great.
really depends on the experience.
Yeah, you show up. I always come with a bag full of options, and
Yeah.
it's funny. I hope I don't end up on Facebook on my phone. It's like, read
Mhm.
the book. I'm always envious of the people reading the books, writing in the journal. I've been doing a lot of journaling, reading this book called The Artist's Way with Julia
Oh,
Cameron.
that was actually assigned reading in one of my theater classes during my first attempt at college. The artist
Nice.
way, yeah.
Yeah. Did you do it?
I read certain chapters that were assigned, but I don't think I got to read through the whole thing.
Well, I
Uh,
definitely recommend it to you and anyone listening. It's really special, and I've done it probably like a couple of years in a row. So I've done it. I do it like cyclically. Like I'll do it with somebody who's never done it before with them and check in once a week and be like, "How's it going? Are you doing the tasks? Are you feeling like are you doing your morning pages?" Which is she coined the term morning pages of just getting up and before you do anything else, light a candle, do your morning ritual, and write out at least try to get 3 pages out
Mhm.
about anything. It can even be about I don't want to be doing this right now. It's
I had the strangest dream. I don't understand.
yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about this. These things are worrying me. I'm wondering about that. But either way, it practices those muscles so that when you really do have something you want to write about, it's like, oh yeah, no problem. I write every day. So it's really cool. I was going to ask if you guys found other things like at these coffee shops. You mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. There's a cool place near us called the Gaming Guild in New Paltz. You guys should come visit sometime. Open mics, every kind of game and board game you could imagine. Great drinks, and they're on Instagram and stuff. And they're, really, it's really cool for me to see and want to do some of my background stuff, which is improvise acting. So I started an improv troupe like 4 years ago, and started doing these free workshops with people where you would improvise and learn how to create stories on the top of our heads. So I've wanted to do more comedy and improv stuff in coffee shops and go on like a laughs over lattes tour.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about that?
I think it's great. I've tried dipping my toe into comedy. This podcast is a portion of that, actually.
Yeah.
Improv, I haven't had any experience with it, but I do love watching it. I'm like such an avid watcher of reels on Facebook or on Instagram. It's so awful. Like I really shouldn't as much as I do, but it's always like comedy stuff, improv groups. It's amazing. Like I love just watching people come up with whatever they can on the top of their heads. It's amazing.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand with coffee and the environment there. And I think there's a good market for it. And a lot of those Dungeons and Dragons and those kinds of games and stuff involve a lot of that imaginative stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a cool skill. I'm hoping to come back to Elmira and teach it to kids, teach it to teens. I really want to start doing workshops out there and bringing it now that I've got a few years under my belt. I want to give the gift to others because it is one of my favorite things to do.
Speaking of improv, a I have a question for you. How do you apply the rule of yes and to your life, whether it be every day or situation?
Yeah. It's huge. In life, everybody's always arguing. And, sometimes our reaction is to say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And there's a movie with Jim Carrey called Yes Man. And
I absolutely love it.
It's a great film, and it's all about someone who really does live by yes and realizes at the movie, when you say yes, no matter what, even if the answer is no, you really start with yes, and finding a way to, add something to the person what they're saying, because that's the and part is like, even if you don't have the thing somebody wants, they say it in sales a lot. And if somebody's presenting you with a problem of like, you don't have this, oh yes, we don't have this, and we also, it's makes us better because we have this and that. So I've seen people use it in that sense, but for me, I really utilize it in my relationships and with my fiance, with Serena, trying to just like, no matter what, have my first instinct be, okay, I acknowledge the reality that you are in right now, from people to people, because that's what it is. It's like, how can I, if someone starts a scene and says we're on the moon, and I'm feeling the water going crazy in my body because of the astrology of it, all of a sudden someone else is saying, oh my God, it's crazy. I feel it too. I feel like the ocean. and that's, now we've got something to work with, if the other person said, we're not on the moon, we're at Target shopping, it would kill the scene instantly. So that's the principle, but for those who don't, use it in life, because when people are struggling, you can use yes and in an empathetic way to kind of say, yes, this is a terrible struggle. Yes, whatever you're going through is really hard, and I'm going to be there for you and help you through it. Instead of the natural, usually male tendency of, oh, how can I fix it? And how can I make it not bad? It's and say, oh, it's not that bad. That's not very comforting.
No, and it's mildly invalidating.
Yeah,
it is toxically positive. And that's something I'm working on. And one way I really utilize it is like,
I totally relate to that. Just like the problem solver in me. It's just like, well, you could do this. Well, you could do that. Well, you could.
Yeah.
They just want to be heard. So
I heard a story, like an old tale of, God trying to help a crying angel or nun or saint or something. She was like just weeping. Nobody could console her. And God was trying to, how can I help you? What can I do to fix this? And how can we make this problem go away? Tears. Nothing would get through. Nothing God said. All it took was for another sister to go and cry next to her. And for several hours after days of this, or they finally, the pain was felt and the feelings. That story really stuck in my eyes because it was like, that's what people need. Even God couldn't figure it out. Yeah. That it's like, you don't have to fix it. Sometimes as a barista, you just got to sit there and listen. The bartender knows this all too well. You got to just let them talk about their problems. And with that, I want to give the floor to you guys because I want to hear, in this last little bit of if there's anything you guys want to talk about and kind of an ask you'd have for this community of, listeners to not only check you out, but, your mission for the world. No pressure.
I know, like that was a lot in one sentence. So
I shouldn't have thrown in the mission for the world at the end. That threw it off.
I think our message in general is very similar to yours in the sense of like enjoying the little things and enjoying those nice daily pleasures. With that being said, I also hope that with our podcast that people kind of open up the world a little bit to like things that they perhaps don't interact with on a regular basis, information that perhaps they wouldn't hear otherwise. And ultimately, I think is to just make people smile and laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Absolutely. Even on our first episode, I think a lot of what our stuff has to do with is also extending the belief of opportunity to people. Because one thing that we wanted to showcase from the very beginning was just like the growth pattern in releasing all of this. Because, I mean, nothing really happens unless you just do it, right? So even the yes and everything, it's just such an olive branch of opportunity to just show people anything can be done. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just show the process and people tend to believe it, especially nowadays when, especially in my generation and younger, everything is thought to be so instant and like we want things so quickly.
Yeah. Instant gratification, but sometimes you got to just like plant the seed and continually water it once a month or once, water the friendships, water the conversations, the thoughts, the research on the potato famine. These branches grow all out of that initial seed. So it's really cool. And do you guys have I liked what you said about the SMART goals. Was it SMART? Yeah. Is that the right acronym?
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, I wrote that down in my journal. I want that to be in my audience too. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. And I loved how you guys were talking about your New Year's, resolutions and all of that. Your goals with this, to keep it up. And, what are some other of your goals coming forward, for you guys? You mentioned you wanted to get into, psychiatry, and I hope the management, that's probably good training for that is what you're doing on your way.
Yeah, so for the past almost 2 years, I actually have been kind of in a more not as public facing role. I've been baking. I've been a baker for a little while. So not really a lot of interaction happens between me and the muffins. But that is an aspect that I'm hoping to gain back with this training and the moves moving forward, is to just interact more with people and have those little connections, as you're providing this food service and being there for the overall experience. I do hope that translates well into my future endeavors. I don't see how it wouldn't.
I mean, you've done it before. When we first worked together, she was the manager.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, actually, Iris was my replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it will, because, people need that. That food service industry is so important, and thank you for doing that, because it is just such an amazing thing to feel that sense of safety and enjoyment. There's nothing like going out to eat or going out to have a coffee, and that's really good. And I wish you the best of luck in that journey. And I know you mentioned you wanted to, make more things outside and then for the social media world. So please do that, and shout out where folks can go and follow you. It's also going to be in the description. But I want to see you guys, your updates and your baked goods and all of that jazz. So please release it into the ether.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, definitely try and find us. Instagram, Facebook, all of them are under Barista Bitches. Some of them won't allow the I, which I would argue that the I in bitches is the most important letter. But
there is an I in bitches.
For the most part, though, I believe our handles are Barista Bitches without the I .pod.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on Insta and our Gmail, and then for Facebook, we have a page that's Barista Bitches without the I as well. And then as far as our personal, I'm at Nikki No Less almost everywhere, and then
I'm Mayor _music. Pretty
awesome.
much everywhere as well. So.
Yeah, and I know that you are into music. You and I used to talk about that. What is your musical stuff been like over the years, and what role does music play besides getting people amped up in the morning as the DJ?
I mean, the hard part is that she's like the amped up DJ. I'm like the more laid back one.
I feel that. I'm with you in the amped up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like the chill coffee shop vibes, and she's
nice.
Yeah. But I mean, music throughout the years, I've loved to see what you've come up with and everything, the albums that you've released with your fiance and whatnot. It's been really great to see. Me, I've been more classical throughout my endeavors. I did end up dropping out of college for music during COVID just because, I mean, the connection for all of it, Zoom was not the best for, seeing what intonation and everything and what tone you could qualify through an instrument. So it definitely was pretty cool to have like virtual choirs and do all of that with like some really well-named people. But I will be honest, like within like the past couple of years, there's been like a lot of emotional growth through all of that, and music has kind of taken a back burner for me. But I am going to be hopefully doing a lot more with like a lot better friends that have been more open and more involved in the music community and have brought me out of my shell a little bit. So it's going to be exciting to see what comes.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so excited, and I can't wait to just see what comes out of the Barista podcast that you have. And you guys are just destined for greatness. I'm sending you so much positive energy and coffee vibes to both of you.
Absolutely. The same to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there any other questions for me, and before we depart and part our separate ways?
Do you have like a favorite roastery? You were talking about getting together when you come here.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do flights for your dad or anything, I mean, we can find a certain espresso if he wants.
That's a great idea. So I think we should definitely, find the right spot for that. Maybe even one of those ones near Seneca that you mentioned, because he actually has a spot up on the lake, and we could definitely come down and have that and do an in-person hangout. And our next episode, we'll have to, try some coffee and really give it a whirl. And I hope you guys, send over these new episodes. I'm going to be sharing this, and I'm going to be sending folks your way to check all of these ones out. Can't wait to listen to the next one. And you have a big fan in Java Joe here.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, to close us out, I think I'm going to play a little improvised song.
Okay, cool.
I think that would be fun. Do you guys want to give me like a topic to sing about?
I mean, coffee for one. Do you want like a certain number of words?
No, not just maybe like coffee and something about like a coffee story or setting or thing like
Coffee in the moon, yeah?
coffee on the moon.
You want anything? Coffee in the moon.
Yeah.
Seems fitting.
I see it.
Ooh, drinking coffee, zero gravity, and we're sharing laughs, and our spaceship crashed on the moon. Oh, come down soon. We got our frother and espresso from the ship. I'm roasting and toasting, and I'm with my friends. Oh, and I just served a cappuccino to an alien. Coffee on the moon, coming home soon. Coffee on the moon, no more doom and gloom. I got my coffee and my friends, and we're gonna be saved by aliens. And oh, I got a chai charger, and it's bringing the ship back to life. Coffee on the moon. You guys repeat out. Coffee on the moon. We'll be coming home soon. Coffee on the moon. Coffee on the moon. Thank you.
Awesome.
Great suggestion. That's, I might have to bring that one to life, and you might need to help me record it or something. Let's
Oh, absolutely.
check out one of our old Joe's Java Jives with Tim DeBella and Elliot Hoteling from the region. Yeah, they're music recorders. I think y'all would get along. Great in Corning with a music studio as well. So maybe that's where we'll go record, do a little song or something. Well, thank you guys. And as you ramble on through this life, whatever be your goal, keep your eye upon the donut and not upon the hole.
Yes.
Go on a whole other tangent. I'm gonna stop.
I want it. But thank you guys. This is so beautiful. Go on the tangents. Keep sharing your art and your world. And thank you so much for being a guest today on Joe's Java Jive, episode 10.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Peace and love. Coffee on